Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. If you're not using the Bet Rivers app, what are you doing? What is happening? For all your gambling needs, it doesn't matter. Football, hoops, the World Series, the NLCS tonight, whatever you want. Tennis, we're big with tennis also. Use the Bet Rivers app. I put up a 3-leg parlay on the Browns and Bengals. I had the Bengals to cover. They did. I had Joe Burrow's over 1.5 touchdowns. He covered, but he did not get the yardage. We'll get all into this game. The Browns lose to the Bengals 21-14. They fall to a miserable 1-6, and a season that we thought could be a good one obviously has turned into disaster. We've got the Deshaun Watson injury. Nothing yet definitive. But it clearly looks like he tore his Achilles. I know I'm not a doctor, but I have torn my Achilles. And even though I don't know for sure, I will be shocked. You never know. But I will be shocked if he didn't. Here's the word now we're getting. Browns quarterback Deshaun. This is from Daniel Ofusi, who's the new Browns beat reporter for ESPN. I apologize, Daniel, if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson is believed to have suffered a season-ending Achilles injury, but will get testing to confirm, per the head coach. So there you go. So I can't imagine. So there we go. We did get definitive word. As Kevin Stefanski has just now in the last few minutes confirmed that it is a torn Achilles. And, well, he hasn't confirmed it's a torn Achilles. They think it's a torn Achilles. So let's start with that before we get into the game and what happened after that and where they go from here. A torn Achilles is a devastating injury. I'm certainly not going to try to compare myself to Deshaun Watson. For as bad as he's been this year, as ugly as the play has been, he's still a million times more of an athlete than I am. And so there's really not an apples-to-apples comparison. I do know that with the torn Achilles, it's a major rehab coming back. I was in better shape than I am now when I tore my Achilles. I was 40, not 53. And it was a brutal injury. Now, Deshaun Watson should come back quicker than me. And, again, I'm not comparing the situation. I just know how miserable an injury it is. Certainly he's done for the season. Once that gets confirmed, I know a lot of people might be happy about that. I'm not rooting for anybody to get hurt. I understand we're all pissed off about Deshaun Watson, and I get, what he's been accused of off the field. I do think it's pretty disturbing that people were cheering and laughing. I know the excuse is going to be, well, look what he did off the field. Now, as much as I may not believe his side of the story, nothing's been proven in a court of law. So I just think whatever you think of Deshaun Watson, I just think you lower yourself. We've become such... and I'm part of this. I'm not immune. We've become classless in this country. It's disgusting, the disrespect in our discourse when it comes to sports and politics in particular. Those two subjects has gotten so gross and ugly. So let's not sink to that level. No matter what you think of Deshaun Watson, I just think it's I don't know. I think it's just bad form to be cheering for a guy getting hurt. Now, listen, he's not dying. It's not like he had a broken neck on the field. That would have been even worse. But I don't know. Ultimately, you can do whatever you want. As much as I want Watson out of here, as much as I find him distasteful, as much as I don't believe his side of the story, I don't know for sure. None of us know for sure. And I'm not going to cheer for a guy tearing his Achilles. I don't know how many people and I know fans didn't, fans didn't know at the time what his injury was, but I don't think that would have mattered. I don't know what percentage of the fan base was cheering or laughing. I'm sure it wasn't that high a percentage. And by the way, if every other fan, before people start killing Browns fans, most other teams in the same situation would have done the same thing. There'd be a percentage of fans that act gross and cheer. So anyway, we'll leave that part of it alone. As for Watson, I think it's yeah, Carl. The owner of this team is classless, and just because we don't like Jimmy, I don't like Jimmy, just because we may not like Watson, doesn't mean we have to sink to being classless. I do it myself sometimes. I get caught up in the moment. I'm emotional. I lash out. So I don't know. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's a great look on ourselves when we behave that way. But as for Watson, I think it's a fair question to ask whether he's played his last game for the Browns. I think that obviously I felt they should move on at the very least at the end of this year. He's not going to play again this year. He has now played I think it's 18 or 19 games in his 3 years here in Cleveland. Really 4 years total. He's averaged, since the 2020 season when he last played a full year. He's gonna play less than 5 games per season since. There's a reasonable chance that Deshaun Watson's career is over. So, Laura, I know you're happy about that. Okay, you got to do what you got to do. But he may be done as a pro. Obviously, this trade has been and still is a disaster. I think he's taken his last snap for the Browns. And honestly, I hope so. Not because I'm hoping for him never to be able to recover from the injury. I just don't want him to play for the Browns anymore, aside from the injury, having nothing to do with the injury. But the injury cements him not being able to play the rest of this year. And even though he'll be recovered, I'm sure, to potentially play at the beginning or near the beginning of next season, I will hope that it's not for the Browns, and I don't know that it will be for anybody else. In fact, frankly, I can't imagine another team giving him an opportunity if the Browns do decide to move on. So that's the story with Deshaun. He was playing an absolutely awful game before he got hurt. And the defense, the first half played great. I thought the Bengals offense was pretty bad in this game. They didn't really run the ball effectively. Joe Burrow had some questionable decisions with some of the sacks he took. He did not look, but he never plays well against the Browns. It's so weird. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but it wasn't very good. But the Browns defense gets the credit for that. I mean, for a lot of the game, it looked like last year's vintage Browns defense in this game. Of course, the special teams has been beyond putrid, which was a routine thing for the Browns in years past. Last year, it turned around, but again, this year, it's been just awful. Bojorquez was fine. Dustin Hopkins has got the yips. He didn't, and by the way, very lame that Dustin Hopkins doesn't talk to the media after. I think it's so lame when these guys are scared to face the music. Everybody wants to talk when things are good. But the real men, the tough guys, men and women in these sports, you got to be able to face the adversity. You got to take it when you screw up. And for Dustin Hopkins, a freaking kicker, to walk out of the locker room without being accountable, and in the end, they're not going to win with those 2 kicks, probably. Obviously, the Browns got that touchdown to make it 21-14, and if it had been a closer game, the Bengals would have probably played defense differently. We'll never know. But he was awful. He misses the field goal. He misses an extra point. Obviously, the Bengals returned the opening kick 100 yards for a touchdown. And so the special teams just awful. And in fact, Charlie Jones had a nice punt return as well. But the offense was awful. Obviously, 3 quarterbacks play in this one. It's funny, you look at Watson's numbers in terms of his completion percentage. He was 15 of 17 for 128. That's not bad. But the sacks were on him, And as Adam Archuleta was keeping it real, and he was very harsh with Deshaun Watson. It was clear, and he was even harsher than, like between the lines, he was even harsher than he was playing about what he was saying. Deshaun Watson had guys open all over the field. He couldn't make the throws. Obviously, DTR was horrible in this game. I'm not going to make a decision on DTR based on coming in this game. That's unfair to him. He hasn't practiced all week. But he was terrible. He had a couple of nice runs when he first came on, but 11 of 24, 82 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Just absolutely awful. Jameis had a nice drive when he came in as the emergency third quarterback when DTR was dealing with a hand injury or wrist, whatever it was, and he threw that late touchdown. It was a great catch by David Njoku in the end zone. I made a snide remark on Twitter about Denzel Ward dancing down 15. I expect more from Denzel, and some people were mad at me because they're like, "Oh, at least he cares." You know what? Celebrating a pass breakup when you're down 15 doesn't show you care. It shows you care that you're showing off or whatever. I love Denzel Ward. I have rarely had a bad word to say about Denzel Ward. I've defended Denzel Ward a million times. But come on, this celebrating bullshit when you're getting killed in a game it's just downright embarrassing. I'm not doing sack dances, and as I said the same thing. The Bengals were playing a game a few weeks ago, and somebody did a sack dance when they were. I don't even remember which game it was now, but they were down a lot. Must have been a Washington game or something. I don't know. But one of the Bengals players did a sack dance. I didn't like that shit either. It's nonsense. You can't be doing that stuff when you're losing. But I do think the defense played pretty well overall. Obviously, the Bengals made a couple of big plays in the third quarter. There was some really poor tackling on a run by Chase Brown, which actually got called back. The touchdown by T. Higgins, he broke a tackle. Jamar broke a few tackles. But the defense overall played well enough to win. The offense, as usual, was awful. They couldn't run the ball outside of DTR. It was great to see Nick Chubb back on the field. He carried it 11 times. He only had 22 yards. He did have the touchdown. He scored it twice. They scored, the first one got called back. I think it's too soon to say, is Nick Chubb still himself? My reaction to watching him was that he didn't look like himself today. But I don't know if that's just because the line wasn't run blocking at all, which was pretty bad. And it's his first game back. I mean, I didn't expect. Well, that's not fair. I did expect him to be really good. He didn't have a great game, but I find it hard to criticize Nick Chubb. 11 carries, 22 yards. I do think after I made that comment about Denzel Ward on Twitter, I said Cedric Tillman's having a game, and I think people thought I was being sarcastic because he did tip one up that led to the interception. But I did think he played well. I mean, it was his best game as a Brown. He was, we thought it would be a big Jerry Jeudy day, but he was a nothing in this game. We barely even knew he was out there. Cedric Tillman and David Njoku had 26 of the 48 targets. And Tillman had 8 catches for 81 yards. Njoku 10 for 76 and a touchdown. So nice. I actually thought it was a good game. I thought Cedric Tillman played well, and he didn't drop anything that I can remember. But again, no running game outside a couple big runs. That 134-yard run by DTR, and that was about it. Great to see Nick Chubb looking healthy. I'm sure he will improve as the season goes along. I think it's unfair to be killing DTR. Like I said, it's going to be an interesting decision. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. The Browns are 1-6. The season is over. Even if they won every game the rest of the year, which they obviously will not, they still, they would if they won every game the rest of the year, they would make the playoffs, right? They'd finish 11-6. But we know there's no way. So it's all about next year. So the Browns have to get an answer on DTR. Is he going to be the quarterback of the future? It's unlikely, but let's find out. What's the point of playing Jameis? Just to win a few more games? The only good news in this miserable season is that if the season ended today, the Browns would have the first pick in the draft. And that's, if you're going to suck, you might as well suck with style and get the best pick in the draft. Don't know if it's going to end up that way, but right now the only two teams in the NFL that are 1-6 are the Browns and the Patriots, and the Browns have a weaker strength of schedule, which means they'd have the first overall pick. Carolina is playing the Commanders right now. If they lose, they'll be 1-6, and they're on their way to losing. It's 20-0 in the second quarter. I know Jaden Daniels got hurt in this game, and Marcus Mariota's been playing. The Washington's up 20-0 at the 2-minute warning, and they have 2 passing yards. Jaden Daniels was 2 of 2 for 6 yards. Well, that includes a sack, so they have 6 passing yards. Jaden Daniels 2 of 2 for 6 yards. Mariota's 0 for 3 for 0 yards. And they got a 20-0 lead. That's because Andy Dalton's been picked twice. I mean, there's only at the half, or 2 minutes to go in the half in that game, there's let's see, Washington's got 135 total yards, all on the ground, or almost all. Brian Robinson, 8 for 53. Jaden Daniels, 3 for 50 on the ground. And Carolina, like I said, they haven't done anything in this game. But so Carolina will be 1-6 also probably. As of now, but the Browns will still have the easiest strength of schedule. In other words, that's the tiebreaker. And now, and I know the Bengals defense has been much better lately, and the Bengals defense played very well in this game, but the Browns still, in 7 games, remember they're 1-6 in 7 games, and they have not played a single team that's ranked in the top 20, I believe, in pass defense. Certainly not top 10. And next week you got Baltimore. Obviously, their pass defense is not very good, but they're obviously a really good team. The Chargers have played very well defensively. New Orleans after that is a mess. We know the Steelers' defense has been good. Denver's defense, and you play the Steelers again. We know Kansas City. And so things could get worse before it gets better when it comes to the quarterback situation. But it is time for DTR to play. Running Beard says, so Bull thinks that starting a veteran quarterback is a dumb idea. Did he miss all of last season? No, I didn't miss all of last season, Running Beard. Were the Browns ever 1-6 last season? What does last season have to do with anything? That doesn't make any sense. What, is Jameis going to win 10 games in a row? Are you serious? G. Bush's bad neck says, hey, Bull, I just watched Miles' interview, and he said people have been sending Watson death threats and going to his house and going after his family. This fan base is trash. That's horrible. This would be happening. I don't know that we need to pin it on the entire fan base. That's a lame take. This happens all over the country in every sport. The degradation and the nasty conversation that started in politics and now has gone to sports is the reason for all this, I think. It's gotten worse and worse. It's gotten uglier and uglier. There's no respect. If somebody disagrees with you, people just are disgusting about it. They rip them, they insult them, threaten them. Threatening Deshaun Watson and his family is despicable. Anybody doing that is disgusting. But we can't just pin that on the whole Browns fan base. There's assholes like that in every fan base. Myles Garrett did say, apparently on the broadcast, on the broadcast they were talking about Myles Garrett confronting some of the skill position players last week. JDB says Haslam needs to fire Berry, then himself, then hand the team over to Coach Belichick and give him the checkbook. No thanks. I mean, I don't know I don't think Belichick's the answer at this point, but maybe. Yeah. Haven't we learned our lesson with Holmgren? I know Belichick's been better than Holmgren, but Belichick in terms of drafting has done a terrible job the last bunch of years. He was awful as a not as a coach, but as a GM. He was terrible the last few years. Roderick says, I disagree. DTR is not the answer. Play James. Draft Deion Son next year. He's probably not the answer, but why not play him? Why not find out? Buckeye guy, Browns need to scout quarterbacks from college starting this week. Me, I would take Cam Ward from Miami. Dude can scramble and make plays. The best scenario for the Browns right now is honestly to lose. I know as a fan you're not going to root for them to lose, but the best scenario is they end up with the top pick in the draft. Or actually the best scenario is that DTR plays like a superstar for the rest of the season, and then you've somehow found your quarterback. That would be the best case scenario. And if that doesn't happen, then the best scenario is for them to get the first pick in the draft. Yes, fan for life. It is a brutal weekend for Cleveland fans with the Guardians getting eliminated last night, and now the Browns essentially getting eliminated tonight. I mean, I kind of thought they were eliminated already, but 1-6 again. Unless they win out, they're not going to the playoffs, and we all know there's no chance they went out. JG, I was at the game. Bengals fans were going nuts, excited when Deshaun Watson went down. Oh, then that's a bad move by them too. And that's stupid, honestly, because he was playing terribly. And that's classless by them also. Brian, why would you give Watson so much guaranteed money after a year out of football and the massage allegations? Just dumb. This organization deserves this. Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now, knowing what we know, it was dumb. It was dumb. I didn't think that at the time, and most people didn't. It's easy to say it now because he's played like crap. Let's see. John, laughing my ass off for really asking for DTR again. This is why Brown season is over in the first place. The refusal to play Jim. Do we know? I mean, who's the guarantee Jameis is going to win? It's not like he's done that much winning in his career. Jake says, I think the Browns need to find a prototypical college quarterback similar to Flacco. There's no quarterbacks like Flacco coming out of college anymore. Very few. Flacco is no longer prototypical. Most of the quarterbacks now are athletes in the NFL. Max, franchise has terrible culture. Got to bring in people who know football. I mean, they've brought in a ton of people that knew football. Starting with Mike Holmgren, Dorsey, everybody before this regime, if you're saying they don't know football, knew football. How did that work out? I would still not fire Kevin Stefanski. I would fire Andrew Berry. Roderick says, run the Haslams out of the Cleveland area. I'd love to. Unfortunately, I don't have the power to run them out. They're criminals. I'd love Jimmy Haslam to sell the team to somebody that would be a better representative of the city. Rich, will there be any relief on the cap hit now that Watson's injured? No. Solo Eagle, fire DePodesta. Fine, I agree. Smallville says, I'm a Winston hater. I'm not. I've been saying for 3 weeks they should play Jameis Winston. But what's the point now? They're 1-6. Ribs and Whiskey. Bull hated Baker, wanted Watson. Apparently I've sabotaged the team because I'm a Bengals fan. Yet you're here in my chat. So I don't know what to tell you, Ribs and Whiskey. Real original name. Roderick Wilson, Kareem Hunt playing out of his mind. 2 touchdowns as we speak. Larry, if you run Haslam out of the area, you'll run the team out of the area. No, you won't. I mean, we can't run him out of the area anyway. The Browns can't leave Northeast Ohio. Timothy, Bull, we need to sell all 3 franchises. Us fans deserve better. Fan for life, insurance on Watson's contract saves their ass now. No, it won't, because his career's not over. It's funny how last year when for the past 2 years when I've said something negative about Baker, I got a lot of stop talking about Baker, and now everybody wants to chime about Baker. Good for him. He's doing well. I do give him credit. And yes, I wanted Watson. And yes, I was wrong. And yes, the Browns were wrong. We'll never know how good Baker would have been here because he didn't play anywhere close to how he's played this year. We'll see if he can win a big game. He, in the years he was here, had more turnovers than any quarterback in the league besides Jared Goff. So it was reasonable to think they needed better quarterback play. Obviously, it hasn't worked out to this point. Chris Bull, if DTR is hurt, don't we have to sign a quarterback? Yes, yeah, they will. I mean, they got to probably sign a quarterback anyway because Watson's out for the season. BBB, I only brought up, I didn't bring up Baker. People were sending messages about Baker. And by the way, when I've brought up Baker, it's only been positive this year because he's played great. I haven't ripped him this year. Let's see. Cleveland 2022. Faker is 17-20 as a starter since he left Cleveland. That's a lame take. He's playing well now. CO Stefanski cannot run the offense with a mobile quarterback. We suck with Lamar too. He would turn into a play-action pocket passer. I don't believe that. William, what do you mean? Done as a pro. If Aaron Rodgers comes back at 40 with the same injuries, no reason Deshaun won't come back. He may be done for a pro if the Browns move on. I'd like the Browns to move on. No other team will sign him, I don't think. That's why I'm saying he could be done. William says the Browns will never get rid of him. You're stuck. DC, can we sign a white quarterback? Way to send racist messages. Jay says, I'm a Baker Bro denier. I like that. That's funny. Real Havana Jimmy was seen begging for donations for the new stadium. Shouldn't give him $1. He should pay for it all himself. Cleveland says Baker is trash. He's not been trash this year. Atlanta Dave, boy, do they miss Bill Callahan. Not like he's having much success in Tennessee. Jordan says all college and NFL teams have scored 20 points or more in a game except the Browns. Tyler's a fan of mine. Thank you, Tyler. Michelle says, turns out Baker's playing great as soon as he was traded. That's false. He was terrible the year after. BK Brown, no quarterback will survive with this trash O-line. No running game. I don't agree with that. Christopher says no team will touch Watson. I agree. Charles, how would Mayfield, Flacco, and our Hunt look now? Better than what we got. Chris says, Bull, do you agree with the fans booing Watson? I said earlier I did not. Rich says, as a Bengals fan, you must be worried that even with O-line special teams disasters, it was only a one-score game at the end. Yeah, I didn't like the way that. I thought the Bengals offense has played like shit the last 2 weeks, but it's funny. The Bengals offense played great earlier in the season. They were losing games. Last 2 games, their offense has been bad, and they've won. So it's weird. Folks, as much as I've, shit on Baker over the years, you can't shit on him right now. Don't give me this. He's on his 4th team. He played like crap the year after. He played well last year. He's playing very well this year. We don't know if he would have done it here. I still think they needed to get better at quarterback. I still don't think he's winning anything in the playoffs. But don't be disingenuous. Stop with the what team he's on or his record in Tampa Bay. He's playing very well. Be fair about it. Be honest about it. It is what it is. Larry says, I hate that Watson was hurt, but now no more talking about him starting next week. Bryce says Myles Garrett was quiet today. Young Duck, fire everyone. William Rios, Colin Kaepernick is better than Deshaun Watson. True. Optimus Prime says Browns are a dumpster fire. They're not a dumpster fire. They're a sewage flood. Height says fire the front office and coaches. Gary bringing Andy Dalton. No, he's starting for Carolina. He's playing poorly today. Mark, trade Mr. Chubb, trade Mr. Garrett. William, San Diego Browns, bowl of mangoes. Do you think the media bear any culpability in the fan reaction today, Bull? No. It's absurd. The odds of DTR becoming a starting franchise quarterback are about as good as winning a lottery ticket. Okay, but I agree it's unlikely, but what's the harm of playing him? Let's see. Rax Blue 11. Why question the quarterbacks now? Wasn't everything's Watson's fault? Yeah, Rax Blue. You're right. Watson played great. None of it's his fault. BK Brown, game was over early with DTR interceptions, penalties, drops, pressures. Game was over in the third. Mr. I crap and shits. Baker needed to be humbled for a year before he got better. I think there's definitely something to that. He's a different player now, different person now. Larry, build a team around Chubb and Garrett. Don't trade them. I agree. William Rios, R. Kelly, better than Deshaun Watson. Randall, no more miserable Mondays because I watched the Browns on Sunday. I've wasted 45 years watching you guys. I wish the team and their families the best, but I've had enough disappointment. See you next week, Randall. Edward Zupan, Kevin, Watson will be our starting quarterback. Jerome, with the number 1 pick, the Browns select. We'll see. DRF, defense only give up 14, no block. Yeah, defense played well today. I thought it was the best game they played. Scott, thank you for your Guardians coverage. TBS is the worst. I thought TBS was fine, but I appreciate it, Scott. Matt the Cat, love the show. Why is the volume so low? Is it low? Is the volume low? I didn't notice. It seems in my headsets to be normal. I was looking at my mic to see if I had it on the lower setting, but I didn't. It's at the usual setting. Oh, man. William, I can't read that one. That's funny, though. Left tackle with the first pick. Oh, God, Christopher, that's a good one, too, but I'm not going to read that one. I guess if I could read P. Diddy, I should read the others. But I'll leave him be. BK Brown, trash O-line made Chubb look like a bum with 2 yards of carry. At least Johnny was fun to watch. Has it come to that? Oof, boy. Some guys worth mentioning. Again, I know Nick Chubb didn't have a great game statistically, but he had the touchdown that was great. I thought Cedric Tillman and David Njoku both played well offensively. Defensively, I thought Martin Emerson played pretty well. Isaiah McGuire was a factor in this game. He had a quarterback hit. The secondary overall played well. I mean, you're playing against really good receivers. They did a good job for the most part, but they got obviously no help, and then a short field, and that really kind of put it away. But the defense did a good job. Defense gets a A-. Offense gets an F. Special teams gets an F. Coaching, D-. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me as always. Thanks to Max and Z for producing. It feels weird that I'm not doing a live show tomorrow for the first time in forever. Oh, wait, I am. I'll be doing the Ultimate Guardian show at 9 a.m. and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports show at 11 a.m., but no live podcast here. The next one won't be with the Guardians done until next Sunday when the Browns play the Ravens at 1 o'clock. Oof. They're at home. Browns will be a big underdog in that one, probably 8, 9 points, maybe double. Well, probably more than that. They were a touchdown dog to the Bengals. The Ravens have been better. And now Deshaun Watson, although I don't know if he's worth any points at this point, but might be a 10-point favorite. All right, we'll talk to you next time. Love you all. Have a good night. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.